My name is Saut Sagala. I'm an associate professor from School of Architecture, Planning and Policy Development, Institute of Technology, Bandung. And I'm also the cluster chair of Disaster and Climate Resilience from the Resilient Development Initiative, a global think tank on resilience studies. And the title of my lecture is Urban Planning and Resilient Approach Using Rapid Risk Diagnostic Framework to Improve Quality of Life. In this lecture, we will discuss three key topics. First, an introduction to improving quality of life through a rapid risk diagnostic approach. Second, rapid risk diagnostic in Makassar city and other global cities. And the third, the practical recommendation on risk-based infrastructure investment, urban ecosystem management, urban infrastructure upgrading on slums area. Let's talk about theory. Quality of life has evolved from an abstract concept to political agendas, integrating both objective conditions measured by indicators and subjective well-being. It has been and continues to be an important research topic across various disciplines, including urban planning. Focusing on quality of life ensures that urban planning prioritizes the needs and aspirations of the people who live in the city. However, one of the threats to the quality of life of urban communities is the rising issues of climate change. Climate change is one of critical urban issues, affecting cities worldwide through various direct and indirect impacts. One of them is increased frequency and severity of natural hazard-induced disasters, which can lead to climate and disaster displacement. If it is not addressed properly, it will negatively affect the well-being of urban residents and lowering the city's quality of life. We can learn from the case study in several places, such as Bulacan province in the Philippines. The increased frequency and severity of disasters in Bulacan, the Philippines, decreased the quality of life by increasing vulnerability to climate impacts, exacerbating economic instability, straining social services, and fostering psychological stress. This can ultimately lead to climate and disaster displacement, or known as CDD. However, livelihood dependence on fisheries, inherited land, graves, and ancestral properties are significant factors contributing to immobility or resistance to move in coastal areas of the Philippines. Mobility, migration, and immobility or resistance to moving create challenges that undermine resilience, health, and overall well-being, particularly in marginalized and poorly supported communities. Thus, urban resilience is key to tackle climate issues. There are three major building blocks for building urban resilience by using rapid risk diagnostic. First, assessment and diagnostic. Second, resilient measures. And the third one, the enabling framework. Let's talk about the first one. The assessment and diagnostic consists of the risk assessment, socioeconomy, and cost-benefit analysis. Second, resilient measures consist of risk-sensitive land use planning, urban upgrading, and managing and restoring key ecosystem. First, risk-sensitive land use planning. It consists of revised land use plans based on the risk assessment, detailed zoning in development areas using hazard microzonations, and implement instruments for site allocation and control. Second, on urban upgrading, it consists of apply zoning regulations to upgrade infrastructures to resilient standards, enhance structural strength of drainage, roads and bridges, telecommunications and power lines, retrofit public buildings and private homes, rearrange settlements to enforce zoning. The third one, managing and restoring key ecosystem, which include to restore and manage key ecosystems, water catchment, green spaces, and natural habitats. It also maintains the connectivity and functionality of natural systems. Lastly, some of the enabling frameworks of these tools include the community participation and collaboration, geospatial information and analytics, recognitions of residual risks and options for mitigation measures, disaster risk management framework, early warning system, risk and resilience, investment financing. The rapid risk diagnostic applies a process of compiling existing data on the overall spatial structure of the cities and their growth trends and directions, the patterns of disaster occurrences, and the main areas affected, and understanding of major urban investments currently being undertaken. By having a city risk profile, measures and progress can be made to address the city's pattern of disaster vulnerabilities and the overall spatial structure. Some measures for addressing pattern of disasters includes land consolidations, ecosystem restorations, mitigating infrastructures, disaster management system, early warning system, and blue and green open spaces. Some measures for addressing vulnerabilities include the community empowerment to reduce vulnerabilities. On the spatial structure measures, it includes the hazard zoning or micro-hazard zoning and the new risks based on the spatial plan. We will now discussing the case study. One of the case study is Makassar City, in a coastal city strategically located as the gateway to eastern Indonesia and a trading hub. The city has substantially developed its coastal areas, including its west and north coast, where more industrial and commercial activities are concentrated. Major infrastructure development affects pattern and direction of urban growth. Take a look at Makassar. There are several strategic projects in Makassar, including the inner city toll road, the reclamation area that is becoming a new economic zone, and the industrial area. These three factors are driving the growth of Makassar. If we look at the spatial development over the past 20 years, it is clear that the majority of built-up land has expanded towards the coast and the outskirts of the city. This information provides an overview of how the city is developing and highlights the key infrastructures that drives this growth. It is crucial to protect these infrastructures from various hazards, especially disasters and climate change. Let's go to New Delhi. New Delhi experienced the same thing with the development of the metro line in 2002. In a rapidly urbanizing global city like New Delhi, significant infrastructure development, particularly the expansion of the metro system, also triggers a profound shift in the pattern and direction of urban growth. The massive urban development in Makassar inevitably leads to an increase in residential areas due to population growth. For those without the financial capacity to own land, this can result in the emergence of slum areas. As a coastal city, there is a community of fishermen whose livelihoods are particularly vulnerable to climate change. These fishermen often build their homes along the banks of the river, the coastal areas, which consequently becomes another pocket of some settlements. These socioeconomic issues contribute to the increased vulnerability of Makassar city. Let's get back to New Delhi. The population of Delhi living in slums has grown over the last 2 decades. The census in 2001 indicates that around 1.8 million people resided in slums. By 2019, this number had increased to approximately 2 million, 10% growth over 18 years. The emergence of slum areas is a global issue, especially in emerging economies, and Delhi, as the largest urban center in a nation of over 1 billion, is overwhelmed by migrants seeking better lives. Poor housing and infrastructure, particularly in sanitation and water supply, create significant health risks for residents. The lack of proper drainage in many of these slums, often located in low-lying areas of floodplain, exacerbates their vulnerability to flooding. The final and most important part is undertaking the potential disaster risks in Makassar, where they are likely to occur and what they involve. At least 3 urban disasters risks have been identified. Firstly, the sea level rise. As a coastal area undergoing reclamation, the risk of sea level rise is increasing due to climate change. This often results in some small islands in Makassar's waters being submerged during certain seasons. Secondly, flooding. River flooding exacerbates the existing disasters as the lack of water of certain areas in urban regions worsens the situation. Lastly, fires or urban fires. The high density of residential areas increases the potential for urban fires. Settlements exposed to flood hazard has increased due to the urban growth. The amount of settlements worldwide has grown by 85% since 1985. Yet the amount of settlements exposed to the greatest level of flood hazard has increased by 122%. East Asia and the Pacific has seen the fastest rate of risky growth. There has been a little over 100 expansion in no-risk settlements, while over 160% growth has occurred in very high risk settlements. Climate-induced hazards have an impact on infrastructure operations, which in turn hampers community access to basic services. Disasters can disrupt movement, including public transportation, leading to economic impacts and many other impacts. It also increases direct damage to infrastructures, increases maintenance costs, and so on and so forth. The last part of this lecture is about the practical recommendations. As we discussed already, infrastructure resilience is a concept that can be adopted in risk-based infrastructures investment planning. The concept covers both infrastructures that can withstand hazardous events, resilient infrastructures, and infrastructure that bolster overall systemic resilience, infrastructure for resilience. It improves quality of life by ensuring a reliable, safe, and equitable environment, boosting economic and environmental well-being, and promoting social stability during challenges. The urban ecosystem management, through nature-based solutions, includes the actions to protect, sustainably manage, and restore natural and modified ecosystems that address societal challenges effectively and adaptively, simultaneously providing human well-being and biodiversity benefits. By integrating nature into urban planning and development, NBS foster a healthier, safer, and more sustainable urban environment, directly improving the quality of life for residents while addressing the growing challenges posed by climate change and rapid urbanization. Finally, one of the most important actions is upgrading the urban infrastructures, especially in slum areas. This involves revitalizing neighborhoods, enhancing basic facilities such as clean water, incorporating green features, and creating active public spaces. Improving the living environment in these communities will increase their resilience to the impacts of climate change. Green features and active public spaces can enhance living comfort and social interaction among residents. All these measures will ultimately contribute to improving the overall quality of life for the community, building resiliency for better quality of life. Thank you so much.